I mean,
I have a new computer, so I have to work on all these things. But hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Those of you that are out there with us here live and those that are watching on our YouTube channel, it's Minorities in Cybersecurity. We're out here on the mic with AWS for the last session of the year. Oh my goodness gracious. It baffles my mind. Of course, I'm in Dallas. It's 80 degrees, so it feels nothing like Christmas right now. But it baffles the mind that, that we are, only a couple of weeks away from the end of the year. It has been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 2023 season with the AWS team, and looking forward to hearing from Chris. And we'll get started here shortly. So thank you guys. If you're out there watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe. And I'm going to do what I do all year, which is pass the buck on to you, Chris, and allow you to take it from there.
appreciate it. It's kind of you're very lucky to be in Texas because in New York it's freezing cold. Um,
Um,
yeah, so not that, I like it that much. It's, but it's New York. New York pretty much has like, I don't know, it feels like they have so many seasons. Wintertime it's like freezing cold. Summertime it's like super hot. And then you just don't know what to wear in New York. But anywho, um, very excited to be here. We have a special guest with us this evening, this Friday night, and to wrap up and close out this entire minorities in cybersecurity basically conference, we have Azzy Higginbotham with us. And my name is Chris Murphy. I am a technical recruiter over at AWS Security, and this is going to be a conversation or fireside chat with a day in the life. So, why don't you take it away and kind of introduce yourself a little bit and give us a little bit of a walkthrough, and then we can kind of just go back and forth and make this an awesome conversation.
Sure. Thank you, Chris, and thank you
Of
for
course.
for having me on. I'm excited to be the last panelist of the year. So my name is Ozzy Higginbotham. First of all, I commend you for getting my name close to right. It's one of the first things most people ask me. And so I am a senior manager at AWS in our security assurance team.
Wonderful. So, just to kind of start your career, how, I mean, I see like you look on LinkedIn, you have your Juris Doctorate, which is your doctorate of law, you have your bachelor's degree. How did you kind of start your career um, in college? Like, how did you choose your major, so to speak, and kind of go into your first career job, if that makes
Yeah, so it'll be surprising that I am in cybersecurity because my bachelor's degree is actually in biochemistry, which is not exactly what you would think about getting into when you think about tech.
far left field, far left field.
Yes, exactly. But at the time, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and so I was like, okay, biochemistry, I'm going to go for it. Um, I soon realized that I actually faint at the sight of blood. So I was like, I don't think that that's probably going to be the right career choice. But I
Was
still,
it dissecting the frog? Was that the issue?
oh no, no, it was way it's like when you just see like human blood, I'm like, okay, that's just not something that I can stand vertically for.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Right there with you. No, no, thank you.
Right. So I chose biochemistry, and I was kind of like in my third or almost maybe, yeah, my third year into my bachelor's when I was like, okay, this long term, I'm probably not going to be, I don't want to be a doctor given this limitation, but I still love the subject area. And so I didn't choose and go do something totally different. I was like, I'm gonna like stick with the bachelor's degree in terms of like the subject matter that I like. And, it ultimately led me in the right direction.
And how did it lead you into getting your Juris Doctorate? Because it's kind of like you went from like basically you have science, which is like biology, chemistry. You probably took organic chemistry, and then you moved into law.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So, there is a field of law called patent law that actually you need those kinds of technical degrees to even go into. So it was a really good mix for me in terms of the fact that I had that technical background. I minored in organic chemistry and biology. So you actually need those things in order to go into that field of law. So for me, it was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm doing still some of the biotech things that I like, but I don't have to see blood.
That's honestly like very gratifying, I'm sure for you. But it's kind of cool to hear that because I'm sure there's people that are on this call right now that, may not necessarily have the or may not necessarily be majoring in some sort of technology or, bachelor's of computer science or bachelor's of computer engineering or mechanical engineering, because that's typically the route that most individuals that go into cybersecurity, that's typically their major. And you majored in basically, chemistry and biology, and you got your Juris Doctorate and you landed into compliance and some cybersecurity, which is really, really cool to see that. Um, and it's kind of a little unorthodox, but I think it's just amazing how it just kind of just blends in together.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it took me a lot longer to probably get here because of like the biology thing. So for someone that knows they want to go into cybersecurity, would I say, go and major in biology? Probably not. But I think the moral of the story is that if you are in a different field and you study a different field, that doesn't prevent you from then evolving and changing routes and changing careers and going into cybersecurity.
totally agree with you. And after graduating from school and moving on, how did you land your first job and what was that like?
So I'm gonna uh, answer it from in terms of when I graduated law school.
Sure.
Yeah. So I actually went to law school at night. And so during that gave me the opportunity to work during the day. And I worked for the US Patent and Trademark Office. So it gave me, a lot of experience right off the bat, just having, the experience and being a patent examiner at the time. So once I graduated, I already had that experience, and I also did a number of internships to gain additional knowledge and expand my network to get to land my first job.
What were some of those? Well, first of all, that's admirable, the fact that you're working full time, going to school at night. That's definitely a challenge of itself. What were some of those internships that you uh, started your career off in, and what was that like?
Um, yeah, so I did a few. I guess maybe we'll talk about one. I did intern for the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the court that patent appeals uh, get appealed to by its nature. The furthest it'll go is the Supreme Court. But I did intern there, and I landed that well, first of all, it was an unpaid internship, so that kind of helped narrow the pool of candidates. But I just wrote a letter to the chief circuit judge at the time. Really just, well, the letter first allowed me to tell him the qualifications and why I really wanted to intern for him. But it
Sure.
also was a test in terms of like, he could maybe even see my writing style, which for a lawyer and an intern is for that role is important. So, I was very like, wrote to him directly, and it was unpaid. And so it's a little bit different when you're trying to get internships for the government, because it is, I think nowadays too, most things are very like, on their website, and less about networking. But it did, uh, going for some unpaid internships really does allow you to gain experience. And it doesn't have to be for a long period of time. I think I did that one for 4 months, and not full time, but it's still like allowed me to meet so many people and just gain a lot of experience. I also, just a quick story, I also did an unpaid internship at the county hospital when I was in college, doing my, thinking I was going to be a doctor. And one of the things I did is I assisted, a doctor in doing an autopsy. And it was, I knew, I was
Oh,
like, oh my goodness, like this is
n-
the,
not the career for me.
but again, unpaid, unpaid internships, people are like, they love the free help, and you just like get, expand your network, expand your knowledge. And so I highly recommend for those, that are interested in, like, even if it's a few hours a week, like saying like, I'm going to do this and invest like my time without getting reimbursed for it, is a good way to get your foot in the door at least.
I think it's an awesome way to get your foot in the door. And I think, even like even in my career, I did a couple of unpaid internships, and some of those internships were the best internships that I've ever worked for because it was just so much fun. Like you just learned so much and you took on different projects, different tasks. And it's a great way to just jumpstart your career and add things to your resume so that, you can find your first job, so to speak. And I'm sure there was people that you could use as a reference from those internships to land you your first quote unquote job.
That
And
you took it exactly for what I was going to say, is like the references are so important, and like to have that and to be able to like speak on your behalf, it was really valuable.
I couldn't agree more with you on that. And if I'm someone that's literally in college or just graduated out of college, it's kind of like you want to just sink your teeth into as many internships as you possibly can to just literally beef up your resume so that you are sending your resume to credible sources, and then you also have references as a way to communicate what you've accomplished thus far. Um, and kind of moving into a different direction because now you're the senior manager of compliance within AWS security. How did you graduate law and move into your current career role as we speak right now?
Yeah, so it wasn't like a direct leap. It was, so I, uh, after graduating law school, I did work at, a number of law firms for years. So I was practicing as an attorney, and
And
then
you were doing patent law?
yes, yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
How was that?
It was very challenging, very interesting. I mean, you're basically, think about it like you're in the forefront of new inventions and new technology, and you're really like, sometimes like talking to the inventors, who are incredibly smart people, and obviously like using your legal lens to determine like patentability, um, and 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 things. So it's a very, very interesting field. But I'd been doing that for about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I really like, I did a pretty full stint, after law school, practicing law. And then for variety of reasons, some personal, some work related, I decided like it's time for a change. I wanted to do something different. And I also took, a number of months off. At the time, I had my first, my daughter, and so I was like, I'm gonna
Congratulations. That's a
do.
very big accomplishment, starting a family. I think time off is well deserved.
Yeah, and so it was kind of like it was a good opportunity for me to spend some time with her and really think about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to refocus, my life. And so I just started looking around. I started talking through my various networks, and it's a lot easier to go to find a job that's you have all the qualifications for, right? So like going in back into patents at maybe another company or firm, but I really took the time to see like, okay, what else is out there? So so my first job into the company had a quasi legal lens to it, although it was not an attorney position, but it was really to partner with the legal team in terms of the contractual security terms that we provide our customers and really explaining to customers our commitments to them. And so it had a quasi, legal lens to it, but it got me into the door to really like learn the security aspects because, as you can imagine, I had to talk to tons of people to really learn about like, well, what is it that we're doing from a security perspective, from a compliance perspective, so we can, I can make the right commitments to our customers. So that's how I landed with this gig. It was kind of like, you kind of one step is still with your legal background, but then the other foot is really learning a whole new chapter.
So your legal background has truly helped you in your current position at AWS Security with contracts, negotiations, understanding compliance, and basically doing what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh yeah, and definitely it has. But also, I think one of the biggest things you learn in law school is, how to just think critically and how to write. So I think writing was, and at Amazon, like writing is a very, very important skill, and really how you convince leaders about your ideas. And so having that legal background that gave me those skills was really instrumental in getting the role and growing in the role.
So you basically had a really solid foundation leaving basically the corporate world of patent law and moving into the corporate world of security and compliance.
Yes, I had the foundations. I just didn't have the specific knowledge about like cybersecurity or compliance. But I guess what the way I describe it is I I had the skills that are a little bit more difficult to teach, and then I didn't have
Mm.
skills that I just needed to like really like learn, um, which were which are a bit easier to teach yourself.
So I was just going to say that what are some things that you did to literally teach yourself about the areas that you were quote unquote unknowledgeable in or didn't have the background in because you basically got you've mastered law and then you
Well,
moved into from
mastered
law.
it's
You're
very
you're a doctorate of law, JD, Juris Doctorate. Come on, that's what it means.
well.
So we should be calling you doctor,
Oh,
by the
please,
way.
let's not go there.
Um, um, but yeah, I think it's really, really important for students that necessarily don't have the knowledge or maybe, don't have the expertise, how did you learn those areas of security, of compliance, of risk, of management, of audit, maybe, because it kind of all plays in together somehow. How did you learn those things? And what maybe courses did you take, or what projects did you work on to really kind of become a master in your current role?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I guess that was one of the challenges in kind of switching gears is I did use a lot of just my own personal time to ramp up. But additionally, there were a lot of opportunities in the company as well. I mean, I took a lot of courses that were offered by the company, like, cloud security essential, cloud practitioner. And those really did help with, like, okay, I know some of this lingo now. I know what they're talking about. Um, and then also whenever like questions came up, there's a lot that we could do. One of the Amazon principles as you know, is just, dig deep, learn and be curious. And so we have just tons of resources, where if you actually like take the time, probably like get 70% of your answer, and then reach out and network with other folks, with others, to supplement the other 30%. So it was a combination of, yes, definitely taking courses, both within the company, and then courses outside, and then doing my homework, with various, program reports that we have, wikis that we have, and then asking questions where I didn't know.
I think that's so important because, again, there's a lot of, college students on this webinar, and there's a lot of students that literally just graduated college, and they might be concerned about pivoting in their career. And literally, that's exactly what you did. And um, what steps did you take to really pivot in your career? And were there any concerns pivoting? Because sometimes, you kind of took a leap of faith, you
Mhm.
know, um, and some people are afraid to take that leap of faith. So what was that like? Because 15 years patent law and then moving into cybersecurity, it's a
Yeah.
basically a career change.
Oh, it was a big adjustment. I mean, big adjustment in many aspects. Financial, it was a big adjustment in terms of, yeah, like learning growth. Um, and and it and just even like, one of the reasons, like, of leaving law is like maybe work-life balance. But at the very beginning, you're like, oh my God, wait, I have to catch up. I have to, and so it's like sometimes you are in the beginning investing more time. But ultimately, it's worth it, because although it's not immediate, the fact you can't, like, just immediately change your career and be aligned, in all aspects to your previous career. So it does take time, but I guess I will say it's been 5 years now since I've left, and I think, in terms of all the issues that I was worried about and all the changes that I've made, I've exceeded, those. So it takes time, but it's definitely possible to pivot and change careers.
And again, I think it's absolutely amazing to pivot in your career because like you're literally adjusting like the your sails to basically the wind to move into a different direction. Um, and how do I explain it? I think it's one of our leadership principles. You said it before, dive deep, learn and be curious, taking ownership. Um, uh, but there's a couple of I don't know, can't pinpoint which one I'm thinking of though, but it's literally adapting to change. And that's exactly what you did. Because I think when you grow and you adapt, and the way you grew, basically taking on cloud practitioners, taking on different classes, taking on different, courses. These are all things to constantly grow yourself. Because some people, they stay stagnant in their current position and then they're not able to climb the corporate ladder, so to speak. And that's exactly what you did. Now being a senior manager of compliance, what is your current role like on a daily basis? Um, what are some things that you're currently doing in the industry, um, so that people could really understand on this call what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I lead a team of currently there. It's about 20, and the team is really focused on making compliance and assurance easier for our partner teams and our service teams. So we do various things, including like building tooling and using technology to scale and optimize our assurances. I still do a ton of writing. And that's because it's one of our main mechanisms, at least in at Amazon. And I do a lot of like coaching and mentoring now as well. With being a senior manager, you really do have to focus on delivering through your team as opposed to, delivering things yourself. So it's really like switching that thinking and really empowering your team to deliver on their goals and to succeed. I always talk whenever my managers, whenever my manager asks me how I'm doing, I talk through about like the success of my team, or like where they're maybe struggling or having challenges. And so, yeah, it's really kind of like morphing your skills into more of a coach and mentor, and letting others, succeed as well.
I think that's very challenging in and of itself to manage a team of basically 20 people. Um, but to manage the day-to-day operations, to make sure that they're all successful, um, these are all key things that, if I'm on this call and I'm listening, I'm like, okay, wow, these are the things that a hiring manager is looking for in an individual. Um, so you've been in the industry, or you've been part of AWS for the last 5 years, you stated. Where do you see the future of your current industry moving into? And if I'm on this call, what are some things that I could do to kind of adapt and grow in my career if I wanted to move into compliance, so to speak?
It's a good question. So in terms of like where the industry is going, cloud cloud services, cloud technology is growing.
That's not going anywhere.
That's a good
That's not going anywhere. That's not going anywhere. Security's not going anywhere. Cloud's not going anywhere. These are all great things to start your career in.
Exactly. So it's like really kind of gaining those knowledges before. But in terms of what's going on in the industry, is because it's not going anywhere. There are more and more like regulated customers are asking to make sure, like, okay, when I go to the cloud, everything's safe. Will I have access to it? Will my data be available? So it's for, at least for my industry, it's really about making sure that we are able to give that trust to the customer, and they ask really good questions, they ask deep questions. So it's about just making sure that we continue to expand and change with the industry. So the more knowledge I think that we can gain through like cloud and how it works and the various services that can be offered and the security around them is really going to give folks a head start.
Which again, like as a college graduate, knowing that AWS is the premier company in cloud services, knowing that the cloud industry is not going anywhere, I think this is a great field to kind of dive deep into and really learn about this industry in its entirety. Um, what do you see is the most challenging part or component of your role?
Um, It's my current role as a senior manager. I think that the most challenging aspect is um, is when you really have to like manage people out. And I hate to say that, but unfortunately it is part of any manager's role, is you have to make sure that the entire team is raising the bar.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, but
100%.
it is still difficult. It's still not something that that is easy, and it's not something that um, makes me happy to have those conversations. But I do, on the flip side, at least at AWS, like we do offer a ton of coaching, lots of mentors for folks before that happens, and so it's not like it's a everyday thing. But when you do have to have those tough discussions with folks, or not even managing out, maybe they just really drop the ball on something, and it's like really just having to have those honest discussions about, like, where they where they lacked where they lacked really meaning, or meeting a goal or a deliverable. Those are tough, but it's part of the role as being a manager.
I, I totally agree with you because it's kind of like you're managing an entire team and your success is directly tied to their success as well. It's kind of like if the team delivers the results, you deliver the results, and you're directly tied to that team too. So I mean, that is challenging in of itself, especially when you have a team of 20 people. Managing expectations, managing deadlines, managing projects, making sure that the customer is happy, making sure that you're servicing the customer as well. These are all like pinpoint things that, of course, got to make sure that, you're successful in these areas. And that's what a successful manager does as well. Uh,
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, it's like most people, at least I didn't think about it at the very beginning. In a law firm, things are a little bit different in terms of, like, even when you're an associate or partner, it's it's you're still delivering and you're still working, and you're still writing memos of law, and not having the junior associates, not having them deliver through you. So it is really a fundamentally different thing, when you come into like this corporate world and tech world. But I think that on the flip side, it really does make you think about opportunities of, like, okay, how can I, teach folks, certain skills, or how can I give them the resources that they need, or how can I, like, help them review something that's going out with sufficient time. So it it is a this part of the role that I don't enjoy very much, when you have to have those tough discussions, but it does also let you be creative and thinking, like, okay, I see that this person had this issue. What can I do to make it easier for them, or anyone else on the team?
totally agree with you. Um, and kind of like basically moving into another direction, what do you see as the most rewarding part of your current role? Like, what's the most rewarding piece that, you truly enjoy and it puts a smile on your face because of the fruits of your labor, so to speak?
Yeah. So I guess on the flip side, it's also like the people. When, like, for me, whether I was, an individual contributor or as a manager, like the thing that made me the most happy about my job was people that I work with and people that surround me. Um, you know, th- you can be in you can be in a role and, frankly, not like the people that you're with, or you're just like, it's just a very bad energy, and be in the same exact role with great people around you and have a completely different experience. So I guess the most rewarding thing about my role is really, like, the talking to the people on my team, helping them grow, helping them achieve things. When I see these kinds of win emails, about the work that my team has done, which we actually got one this week. Um, like it's just the most rewarding thing. It's like, and there's all sorts of like high fives going on in the background and just like um just to see that growth from the people that you really enjoy working with is the highlight, I guess, of my day, and really why I enjoy flipping on the laptop every morning.
I mean, look, watching other people succeed and seeing your organization be highlighted during any time frame, I think it's always, you know, it's gratifying. It's exciting. It's a win for everyone. It puts smiles on people's faces because I think at the end of the day, everyone wants to be applauded for the work that they do. They want to be recognized. They want to feel valued, and it's rewarding to see your team just overall win in general.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a sweet feeling, so to
Yeah, and
speak.
to be able to like help with that, and being able to like help them with through the challenges so that they can get to that, and then and the one, I guess, the issue with having most people that worked from home during COVID is that you didn't really get a chance to really bond with folks on your team.
Mm,
And with a lot of companies going back to office for certain periods of time, getting back and like really knowing the folks and being able to like grab coffee and talk about like the weekends, like that is also like it's been really great to reconnect with the people on your team and outside your team. Obviously, I'm at home today, but it's Friday evenings, so
we expected you to be in the office on a Friday evening. I'm home too, so it's all good.
yeah.
It's all good. Personally, I mean, it's Friday, so for me, I like to work from home. I enjoy that part. Um, I think, looking at your overall career, watching your advancement, um, I think there's always there should always be a hunger or a desire to like learn and be curious, to grow within your current role, to take ownership, to dive deep into different information. And sometimes when we look at our senior managers, we look at them as kind of I don't want to say necessarily idolizing them, but we see how much career growth they've had. How are you challenging yourself in your current role to grow even more?
Mm.
Um, and what are some things that, you're currently doing to continue to evolve, expand, adapt, and maybe even sometimes pivot in your current position so that, you know, you're constantly moving in a forward direction, so to speak. Because sometimes in our careers, I feel like we can get really stagnant.
Yeah, and in my 5 years here at Amazon, I have I've either been in or led three different teams, um, and each time that I've that a transition has happened, like it's just allowed me to really expand my knowledge. Both in terms of like maybe the technical piece and really getting into like what do we do? What does this team do? you know, um, and also just in terms of like expanding your network. Um, I most recently inherited a very engineering centric team, and really having to like get into the weeds of like um, what it is that we're solving for, what is the technology, who are our customers. um, it's just allowed me to grow significantly. I'm still in the same organization, but even having like different challenges in terms of managing different teams or different folks has allowed me to really, really grow. So I look forward to those kinds of challenges. There's always like reorganizations happening. So even though change can always be really scary, it also does in the end allow you to really expand both your knowledge, your network. So I guess that's what I'm looking forward to is like, what else? Like, I can't imagine that in like 5 years from now when we speak, I'd still be doing exactly the same thing at Amazon. Like that is probably a zero probability. So I guess that's what I'm looking most forward to. It's like without even having to leave the organization or the company, I'm pretty much assured that I'm going to get like so many different experiences, learn so many new different technology and tools, and I think that's what I love most about my role.
And obviously, like the fact that, the company that you work for, it has so many areas that you can truly grow in and kind of move in a different direction. Like you said, you managed three different teams coming into to AWS security. Now, all three of those different teams did three different, very different things, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Very different.
Right. And now you're said you're managing a team that's engineer focused, like centric, like that's what they're focused on. How has that challenged you to grow in your current role as well?
Um, yeah, I mean, so a lot of it is um is really because you want to be a manager that allows folks to deliver, and you're able to remove obstacles and help them through various things, but not understanding the technology at all, it can be an impediment to giving them the right advice. So I think for me, it's really about myself getting the right mentors to help me through those things, and managing a new type of team. um, but also just like I said before, in terms of like, you just sometimes have to, it's old school, but like open up the book and like, learn some stuff yourself. And if that doesn't work, like, get some training. Or I love brown bag lunches, and like, learning about business analytics. So it's really about, like you said, those LPs, and just being curious, continuing to learn. So yeah, I sound like a broken record, but that's really kind of like the things that have helped me the most.
Well, I mean, look, if me being a part of the audience and listening to this, it doesn't sound, I wouldn't sound like a broken record because these are things that me as a moving into this kind of career path, I really have no knowledge. So I would try to absorb as much as I possibly could.
Mm.
And you said something really, really key that I hope the audience picked up on. You said that you don't want to be in your current role 5 years from now. And I totally agree with that because that's like the key definition of stagnation is being in the same role 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Because that can play a pivotal
Yeah.
role into where you see the industry going. Um, and I think it's so important to be an outside the box kind of thinker so that you can kind of really visualize where things are moving. So,
Yeah.
where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Well, if I had my crystal ball, exactly. Then, if I had a crystal ball, I may not be working in 5 years. um, but I guess that in 5 years from now, I mean, uh, I see, um, I see just the use of more tech and and scaling to modernize like what we're doing. I mean, with Gen AI just increasing, by the day, it's like I'm really excited to see like in 5 years, like how we're going to be able to use that kind of technology to make things easier, and then use like humans for high judgment jobs. And so it's like really thinking about like what is it that then humans are going to do in 5 years, and what are we going to have AI help us with. That's kind of like the crystal ball in terms of like um, the use of our Gen AI friends in the space, and just like going through like how our worlds are going to change based on that technology and other technologies that's just going to help us modernize and scale audit assurances and compliance.
Which I think that's kind of pretty awesome, the fact that we're going to be moving into more of a AI type of world, and just kind of melting the two together. And it's going to be really exciting, the fact that this future generation is going to be able to get their hands on pretty early on this type of technology and see where it can go and where it could lead.
Oh, for sure.
Um, you know, and kind of winding down because it's almost time's end.
Mhm.
Um, what are some things early on in your career that maybe you would have done differently, looking back?
Um, what would I have done differently? It, I I would have so I this is I told you that I went to law school at
Mm-hmm.
and I went, I worked. Although that was very, very beneficial in terms of like getting the experience. It's like I would have just taken some of that time and really enjoyed school and learning and like without
Good
like
point.
all of the other stress. Now it ended up being, obviously very helpful for me. But in terms of like just making sure like we enjoy each stage of our career and each stage of our life without like having to like always fast forward into the next is I think advice that I would give my younger self.
I totally agree because sometimes like you're constant like especially if you're so goal oriented or goal driven,
Type A.
it's yeah, type A. It's kind of like, all right, graduated college, awesome, good job. Internships, awesome, great job. And then like you're moving into like your career, and it's just like it's almost like a checklist, and you're not necessarily present
Mhm.
in your current, like you said, life or current career or current path, whatever it may be. And I think like, that is some incredible advice for anyone that's like literally in their early 20s just graduating college, because I think it's so key. Because sometimes you're just like, I need a job. Like I need a job. It's like enjoy where you're at. It's okay. Like you'll
Yeah,
find
it's
a
easier
job. Like
said than done,
it
obviously.
is. I
Sometimes,
agree. I agree. I
yeah.
agree. But I feel like we're both seasoned in this.
Yeah.
We've experienced this, so we understand. It's kind of like, hey, enjoy where you're at, and continue to work hard, but stay present in where you're at too.
Right.
And I think that's so vital. What advice would you give to the future generation?
Um, I think that the advice I would give is never stop networking. I feel like building your network,
It's
both
huge.
personal and um, within your professional network, is so key. Not only is it because like you'll have mentors at the tip of your hands, or
Mm,
that you'll be able to ask questions where you need to, or if you decide you do want a career change, like that's how I got, my start. I knew someone who knew someone that knew someone, and just really maintaining the network, which then also means like really maintaining that respect and professional manner throughout your career, so that you have a good reputation for that network is really key.
Very vital, very vital.
I mean, I think those are like, if I had to pick one, like, terms of advice. I say this to everyone like when they first start, because at Amazon you have a plan when you first begin, and the manager recommends a number of people that you should meet. And I'm like, by no means should you limit yourself to these like 10 or so people. Like, for every person I recommend, ask them who they recommend, and so on and so on. I actually have like a an official personal goal where, like, every 2 weeks I try to like get to know someone new, someone I haven't met with before. And we have these very cool things too. It's like coffee and chat, where you get to kind of just meet like a random person. I always sign up for things like that. I always sign up for like things where you can go do social responsibility type events, and you're all kind of like get to meet other people. So yeah, never stop growing your network. Never stop, because that's how you'll really grow and get at the have resources at your fingertips.
And it's so valuable to have like such a good network, you know? I think that, I mean, that's probably like the best advice you can give, anyone coming out of college is build your network and make sure that you have a good reputation, make sure that, you don't burn bridges, make sure that, you keep a sense of professionalism. That's key. These are all great things that, um, you know, looking back, like these are things that I also did too. Building a network is absolutely one of the most vital and important aspects of your career.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I can.
because
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, because like that's how you can receive more mentorship, that's how you can receive more coaching, that's how you can advance your career, that's how you can find new careers. It's one of the most pivotal things that you can honestly think of. Um, but we've kind of come to a close. Is there any last remarks, comments that you want to add before we kind of close out on this? Because it's been a real pleasure and honor to have you as a guest speaker to kind of close out the whole 2023 fiscal year in December for us. So it's been
Oh yeah.
a real pleasure.
It's
Um,
been my pleasure too. I guess my last thing I would say, 4 words: work hard, play hard. Like, yeah, if you're only working hard, not enjoying life, then it's you really gotta keep that balance. But yeah, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mary, for having me on this panel. It's been a pleasure to have this chat with you guys.
Likewise,
No,
it's been a real
it's been
pleasure.
great. It's been great. And what I do want to say, for those that are out there, not only new to cyber by age, because you guys say seasoned, and I'm looking at your faces like, yeah, okay, not well, at least Chris,
Well,
you know.
what I meant by like let me correct myself. What I meant by seasoned was in our career towards
Mhm.
the advice that Azzy gave before. That's what I meant.
Okay, okay.
Not necessarily in cybersecurity. No, it was more towards the advice that she gave. That was it.
No, no, I'm not even talking cybersecurity. I'm just talking just pure age. Okay, so
Oh,
again, I'm being ageist. I'm being ageist. No, all I really want to say is that we have, for instance, in our apprenticeship program, those that are transitioning, right? So, like yourself,
mm,
that decided that, okay, I'm done with patent and trademark. Being a lawyer myself, being an IT geek myself, I knew I didn't want to do patent and trademark law at all. That was just, I mean, I was falling asleep in the law office trying to read all of this stuff. So those that I just want you guys to take away from the fact that 15 years as a lawyer in doing patent and trademark, and then transitioning into a GRC type of function. That's what I mean. You know, a lot of our apprentices are transitioning. They're not going to go back to school. They're
Mm,
not, you know, they are seasoned in a different way, Chris. And so they're using their transferable skills that they've been doing to aid to the cybersecurity profession. So just wanted to point that out and say that there's room for everybody.
mm-hmm.
And, you know, you can take that 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 point and continue to move forward. That there, just because you spent 15 years in one area doesn't mean you can't, you know, transition into this space. So I thank you guys a lot for coming on and spending the time with us on a Friday night, the last Friday night of the year. I'm going to play hard because I've worked hard all year. So I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to take the last 2 weeks of the year off. We'll see you guys again on January the 12th, where we'll be doing Apprenticeship 101 for companies. So we'll be talking apprenticeships, but it's specifically geared towards companies. That's January the 12th. Again, thank you guys so much for spending an hour with us this Friday evening. And I wish you guys a wonderful, blessed holiday season.
Pleasure. Take care. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.